One of us has really got to work on a better intro on that. It's kind of a little bit well, past its prime, but and we keep growing. Hey, everybody, it's Zach Clayton with Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. And you are listening to Footprints Forward. We welcome you to our show, and we're glad that you've allowed us to join you again this week as we really bring up mental health and the ways that we can try to help somebody who's contemplating suicide. Suicide is forever. There's no second chance. Um, you lose in suicide, you lose somebody. We're here to try to find every way possible to make sure that we can be there for people. Very, very proud to introduce our co-hosts or the hosts or the team, I guess is the best way to put it, our family, starting with Stephanie Samos. Hey, Steph.
Hey, hi everybody. Stephanie Samos. I work with nonprofit organizations and people year-round to assist with fundraising through One Hope Wine. We are a cost-centered winery out of Napa Valley with over $9.7 million donated to date. So I specialize in fundraising, gifting, private wine events, and wine delivery. And when you pour a glass of wine or send a gift, it's a great feeling to know that bottle made an impact for a nonprofit that's important to you. Also, the co-founder of PNS Properties. We are a family-run business that's working to curb the homelessness crisis in our veteran communities. We work with HUD-VASH recipients on housing and are working to build veteran communities and housing while providing support and resources. So this mission is really important to me because the last few years in working in the nonprofit space, I learned a lot about where our systems are lacking in support. So I believe that education and resources for those needing assistance is super important to help bring the number of losses in the other direction. Really excited to hear from Leslie today. I wear a lot of hats. Feel free to connect with me through my Linktree/Steph Samos. All the ways to contact and connect on socials are right there on my page.
Well, on top of that, you also get to see the efforts that Stephanie and I do every month working with small nonprofits. We're about ready to launch this Wednesday. We're going to be introducing a gentleman that we actually had on this show.
Very excited about that.
Yeah, he was one of our very first guests. He was our second guest, I believe, and we're bringing him back because he's got some wonderful things going on. And here pretty soon, you're going to end up meeting one of our other family members here. And he can tell you a little bit more about what he's going on. Patrick, why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown on who you are and what you got going on?
All right, Patrick Myers, and right now I'm in the middle of founding a company called Edge Global, and what it has is it has two different parts to it. It has a nonprofit side and an LLC side. The LLC side is going to be consuming fire media. Out of that, we are running several different podcasts. The Pit Podcast, Voices in the Fire. Um, and we are in development of two more for the Juvenile Justice Department, and for those that are dealing with suicide and have suicidal tendencies, to be able to talk about those things openly and freely on that channel. Also, one of the things that I'm starting right now with the nonprofit is the youth initiative here in Middle Tennessee, and we launched our first one last night. Had our first meeting, and the purpose behind this is to teach kids how to be the movement that they want to see. And so right now, it all started off with just meeting these kids at Sonic, and I was just talking to them, and just saw this need because there's nothing for them to do around here at all, period. And they're just sitting up at Sonic, and that's really the club and the place to be. And so I was like, ask them if there's something that they want to do, and that's how this whole thing started off. And so we met last night, and like they want to do things for the elderly. They want to create murals. They want to create a community center for kids that are their age and up. They want to go back and help educate kids that are younger. So there's just so much potential in the ideas, and all we have to do is step back as adults and get behind them because right now the youth, they're not just our future; they are what's happening today. And a lot of times, if we, it doesn't matter what age they are, kids can have such massive impact in the world if we step out the way and start to learn how to get behind them. And so that's what we do with the Youth Initiative.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. And one of the things that we always say about my foster son is that, if he doesn't have anything to do, that's when the problems start. When they don't have anywhere to go, their mind finds somewhere to go. And it's not always the greatest thing in the world. So I love what you're doing. The other part of our family here, huge part of my family, is setting up in my Brady Bunch or Partridge Square. I don't even remember what show it is anymore. But Mr. Z from Z World Webs, how you doing, brother?
I am on mute. I am doing great. Speaking of bad introductions, I think your introductions are absolutely phenomenal, and it's always great to see you, brother men Zach, Steph, Patrick, and Coach Leslie. Hello, world. My name is Z, or you can call me Mr. Z. I am a web developer, and I am also a consultant that specializes in helping nonprofits, veteran business owners, and entrepreneurs like yourselves who are looking to announce upcoming events, book online appointments, or accept donations or payments without the use of eBay or Jeff Bezos. I also provide a free consultation to those who are looking to get started on their brand new website, but they're not comfortable with the idea of touching the back end of their website, whether it's their code in WordPress, Squarespace, or Wix. And I would also like to mention that I do have a referral program called Z Referral Program. And that is if you refer me or if you choose, if you refer me to a nonprofit organization of your choice, and if they become a paying client, you are entitled to compensation. But if you're not comfortable with the idea of accepting compensation, I will donate it to a nonprofit of your choice. Alternatively, if you shop at one of Zach's partners, they will be more than happy to refer back to a charity of your choice, which was inspired by the community Pay It Forward. So with that being said, if you are looking to modify, develop, or redevelop a custom website that is specifically catered to your needs without any cookie cutter templates, well, let's develop a website Z World is waiting for. Back to you, brother man.
I just still missed the whole
That was so good.
Thank you.
Z World is waiting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. That means a lot,
So,
Patrick.
and joining us today, a very, very special friend of mine, a family giving member of the Community Pay It Forward program, Miss Leslie Bradshaw. Hey, Leslie, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Wow, it's been about 6 months since we last talked. I think that's almost a record for us, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So, Leslie, welcome to our show, first off, and thank you for agreeing to be here. You are very special to me because you really focus in and your backstory, in which we'll get into in a minute. You really focus in on something where, a lot of times people say, suicide, and they're thinking men. Women have depression as well. What are some of the things that you try to help women do?
I try to help them get back to themselves. Like we're taught as women to be people pleasers, to we have to put everyone else before ourselves. We have to always give. We have to be subservient. You know, we need permission to do the things that we want to do, and we always have these flaws that we're working on because we have to be perfect. If we're not perfect, something is wrong with us. We have to keep working on how can I do this better? How can I be a better woman, mother, sister, friend, you know, whatever, wife, whatever it is. It's always this bar that's set by these arbitrary people that we never seem to reach. No one ever actually gets to that point, but we're always working on this perfectionism. So I help women to break that cycle.
Okay, and you come from you do what you do because of your past, and I think that and I know that I ask you to tell your past every time that we talk, but I think it's very important for people to understand why or why you do what you do because of what you lived through. Can you just give us, and sorry about the little bit of distraction there for a second, but can you give us a rundown on, like, give us a little bit of a history about what you went through and why this is so important to you?
Okay, so as you guys can tell, I do have an accent. So I born and raised in
New
Trinidad
York.
in the Caribbean. Yeah, very New York. Born and raised in Trinidad in the Caribbean. And you know, in our country, we have this saying that you can either become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a disgrace. Well, my brother's the engineer, and I'm not a doctor or a lawyer. So,
Well, you're
and you know,
damn sure not a disgrace, my dear. You're damn sure not a disgrace.
thank you, thank you. I mean, there's always been it's usually said in jest, but there is a lot of truth to it because we rarefy like certain jobs, and you know, people who are more like artistically inclined or they're sports inclined and are kind of left behind because it's like, oh, that's not important, you can't make money from that. And I know I was one who was told, you know, by my own mother that, you know, you can't get into what you want to get into because it's not an appropriate job. I wanted to be a flight attendant. um and yeah, she told me it was not an appropriate job to have and all those things. And I was kind of like, what? Well, that's what I want to do, you know. That's where I see myself. But I ended up like feeling lost because of it, you know. And it was little things like that through my life. I was told also, you know, by teachers that, you know, I couldn't go to certain schools because, you know, I wasn't smart enough for certain schools. And you know, and our system, you when you're like 15, 16, you choose whether you're doing like business studies or science subjects or those kinds of things. And I did business, and business is considered the stupid class, you know. That's where the stupid people go. So I've always had this stigma like following me around that, you know, I'm not that smart, I'm not that great, you know. I'm a crazy dreamer, you know, and that's never going to get anywhere. And you know, to top off the cap, you know, I got pregnant young. I got pregnant when I was 19, and of course, at that point, it's like, well, your life is over. You can't do anything anymore. Your life is solely for your child. Everything is all about the child, and it doesn't matter what your dreams are. It doesn't matter what your goals are. What you want to accomplish for yourself is all finished. It's all about your child. And for a long time, I lived in that victim mode that I cannot do anything for myself anymore. I needed my mother. I needed my, well, of course, growing up Catholic, I had to marry the guy that I had my first kid with. So you know, I had to depend on him. I had to. There was never any point where I could just be who I wanted to be, and I felt lost. I felt confused because I was trying to fit myself, a square peg, into a round hole, and it would never fit. It never fit, and I just kept feeling like, well, something is wrong with me, and that was a narrative for a long time in my mind. Something is wrong with me, and I kept trying to figure out what it is that's wrong with me. And I went deeper and deeper into people pleasing. Eventually got divorced from, my first husband, which of course did not help the situation, because something is wrong with me. Like, why can't I make this work? Um, and it wasn't until like there was one day, it was between killing myself or saving myself. And I thought about the suicide for a long time, because for me it's like, I'm no good. I'm worthless. I can't do anything right. I am just a burden to the people around me. So why am I staying here? And well, obviously I couldn't go through with it because I'm still here. And I decided that okay, let's fix this. Let's see how we can fix this. I know I started reading self-help books. I didn't know about coaching at that point yet still. So it was like self-help books and, um, tapes and CDs. And yeah, I'm old enough to know about cassette tapes and CDs
I don't believe
of
it. I think you watch the History Channel or something. There's no way you're that old. But Leslie, I just want to give a real quick introduction into this, because what you had to do was drastic with your parents. It was very, very drastic. But as we have heard already, everything about your upbringing to us in the States is drastic. You had to take a very, very drastic step towards your parents.
Yeah, I just had to be like, yeah, this is not working, and it is leading me down a path that is not comfortable for me. I cannot see myself living this way for the rest of my life, and it's either you get on board or that's it with us. And it's not easy to break up with your parents. Those are your parents. It's drilled in you that you have to love, honor, and respect them, regardless of whatever you have dealt with them, or you have to love, honor, and respect them. So to have to tell my mom that, yeah, this is me, you have to accept me as I am, or you know you're probably not going to have a daughter again. It was not easy. I'll tell you, it wasn't easy. But thankfully, eventually, we were able to like talk it out, and she is a pivotal person in my life right now. So I'm glad that it worked out that way for me. So yeah.
I think we could speak on behalf of Zach and say it's great that you're able to overcome those obstacles. And it's never easy divorcing from your parents and what's expected of you. It's usually the norm. And uh, just you being able to pursue your dreams, you have the courage that most people don't have. Patrick, Steph, and Zach, they have pursued their dreams. And here we are now. We are definitely making a difference for those who are on the fence on pursuing those dreams. And you could be the answer to the girls and boys who have perhaps experienced what you went through. And obviously, you're not a disgrace. You are definitely the inspiration that we all need. You
Thank
are
you.
determined to make the change. You're very welcome. You're making the change like Zach is, and everyone here too. Sorry to step on your toes, Zach. I just wanted to just relish what Coach Leslie is able to offer and making a difference by these great introductions.
Yeah, no, you didn't step on anyone's toes. We've actually got somebody coming in. The great fire department is here to put in fire or smoke detectors for us. And my dogs decided that they wanted he was a guy in a big blue chew toy showed up at the door. So they were having all kinds of fun and making all kinds of noise. So I had to shut off and disappear for a second. Leslie, how much has your training helped your daughters?
I would say like 100% greatly. Like I said, I have a soon to be 21-year-old, and like we're like best friends. Like there is still, of course, the mother daughter respect there. She can't get away with nonsense. It's not that kind of best friendship, but you know, I have been able to create a space where she feels comfortable to come to me with anything, like
Yeah.
anything that she's going through. She feels comfortable enough to like um she lived in Houston with her dad for a couple of years, and even while living with him, she would call me when she had problems. She would call me for counsel, and so it's I have been able to create an environment where my girls feel like they can tell me anything, and we can have a discussion and we can work it out. And there's no you have to be this way. There's no should or have to or anything like that. There is, let's have a discussion and see what is best for you. And that's really it for life. What is best for the person? Like what's best for me is not necessarily what's best for Patrick or what's best for Mr. Z or Stephanie or you, Zach. So, it's always about figuring out what's best for them in this moment.
Yeah. Does Patrick, you were asking Stephanie a couple questions about some of the programs that you were running. Why don't you go on ahead and re-ask her now that we've got other people who, you had some questions for her, and I think that the questions that you were asking her could help other people. So you want to go on ahead and bring those questions up, or?
Oh yeah, no problem. So so Leslie, um, one of the questions that I was asking before is like, I have a lot of teen girls here at my church and in the programs that I've ran, and then over the years of just seeing the young ladies. Because I was very impressed when you said you have created this environment for your kids to for your daughters to be able to connect with you. And so I guess one of the basic questions would be, if you was to give like groups like mine, okay, where we have these young ladies that are coming in with all kinds of different traumas, mommy and daddy issues. That's a huge thing. I, I used to think that girls just had daddy issues. They have
We
they
have
have
mommy
mom issues.
issues too,
They
Trent.
have mommy issues. And y'all are usually at war with each other
Yeah.
on levels that it's unconceivable sometimes. It's like, man, how do you guys hate each other so much but love each other at the same time? It's so weird. But how do you maybe create that environment where if you're running programs where you have teenage girls and stuff like that, especially because as men sometimes, we try to do our best, but we don't understand. We barely understand ourselves, much less females. And so, how can we create that kind of same environment from your perspective on how, on just reaching girls and being able to speak into those things, like, and point them in the right direction to the tools that are needed, and um, um, creating also. Well, I'll just ask that question first, just that one question, then I'll come back and circle back to the next.
Okay, well, I mean, definitely for them to be open, you have to create that comfort. They have to feel safe with you first and foremost. Like you have to give them space and time to test the waters, so to speak, So if they're telling you, and they will start testing once they see that you are being open. And the thing is, whatever they're telling you, especially for like me with my kids, my daughter has told me some things that, of course, as a mother, is like, I am not comfortable hearing this from you, but I cannot like, I can't show that to her because then she will get, oh, mom doesn't want to hear this. I'm going to pull away. So it's also about dealing with your own personal discomfort on your own. So yeah, you are going to feel the discomfort, and it's okay that it's there, but you keep your discomfort in check. Like you can deal with it like outwardly after the conversation, however you need to, but it's about keeping your discomfort in check, then so making them feel like, yeah, it's okay, it's safe. You can tell me this, yeah. And they keep testing, and more they will open up to you. So it really is like a time thing. You just have general conversations, and maybe you give a little that they'll feel like, okay, he's sharing some of himself with me, uh, and maybe they'll start giving a little more of their story that way. So yeah, just give them the time and the space, and the don't keep the discomfort in check, and don't go into parent mode. Oh no, you shouldn't have said that. Those things. Don't go into that
Yeah.
parent mode. Stay in that yeah, that kind of neutral mode. Yeah.
All I've got to say real quick, Patrick, okay, you get to tell, or you need to your daughters tell you things that you got to hide that you're uncomfortable with. My sons are not happy unless they ask me a question that I sit there and go, what? So I mean, I've got a 29 and a 22-year-old, and every time the conversations start, my head is every conversation starts like that. So
they love stressing you out.
I wouldn't know how to start a normal conversation. Hey, Dad, how's the weather? I'd be like, what'd you do? Every conversation has me going, oh, well, I didn't see that one coming, in which I can hardly say that anymore. Go on ahead, Patrick. Sorry, I had to throw that in
Oh
there.
no, that's do you actually have girls, Zach?
No, I don't. But you know
Oh,
what?
okay. So that
If I have to, I mean, if there were
hold
anything
in
that would
peace,
make
bro.
me uncomfortable, I would like, I just don't know. I couldn't imagine being uncomfortable with the conversation that I couldn't handle because, like I said, both of my boys completely polar opposites. They truly are. They're truly polar opposite. But boy, both of them love coming at Dad like that, and it's like, oh my God, what? We need to talk to your mother. I don't know what she's teaching you, but we need to talk to your moms. So, which actually, it kind of both happened. So it's probably Dad's fault, but still, But yeah, Patrick, going ahead.
Okay, so to reiterate pretty much the points that you gave just now. So for that first question about like, how do you create that environment for them, right? So you said
Mhm,
number one would be check your discomfort at the door because it's about their
mhm.
comfort, number one. So that
Correct.
would be number one.
Correct. Yeah.
Number two was oh, I'm sorry. Number two was just consistency
Yeah.
of
Mhm,
all right. So that was number two, consistency of
mhm,
just constantly just showing up, being there, so they have that place. And then number three was sharing even a little bit about yourself, to create that space for them to see that okay, he's human. He's not just trying to be an adult in my life to or he or she or whatever, whoever's in charge. They're not just
mhm.
trying to run me like so they're already dealing with that at home with their parents and stuff like that.
Yes.
So that
Yeah.
opens up that space for them to be able to talk. So that was there another
Mhm.
point? I'm trying to make sure there was not another point because I
No,
didn't
those were the
but there was
points. Yeah.
those were the points.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm,
My second question, um, with one of the things is um how do I even phrase this one? Um, what is with all the things that you deal with those girls, okay? Because like when you're when you decide to do these things, you decide to get into the mud. That's just a fact, right? And you can't get into the mud without getting muddy. That's that is that is one of those things. How would you say is the best way to um, when you jump in that mud, the best way to jump out and get yourself cleaned up before that mud sticks on you and starts to cake and cause you problems. Because the reality is that in order to help them, you do have to get in there and put your hand in there, pull them out. Sometimes you have to jump in there and get completely covered and push them out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, like, how do you deal with those things? Because I know you've heard some traumatic things. I know
Mm-hmm.
you've dealt with some crazy stories. And how do you stay healthy throughout that process?
Mm. Oh, that's a good question. It's actually about keeping yourself grounded. So, giving yourself the time and the space that you need to recover. Because, like you said, especially if it's something heavy, like you're dealing with the suicide or they're dealing with, domestic violence or anything like
Yeah,
that, I mean, your heart aches, right? Your heart aches.
yeah.
No, you
It
no
breaks
matter
actually.
as
Sometimes it
long
just
as you're
breaks in
human,
half.
your heart aches. If you can listen to those stories and be like, okay, then I think you need a therapist. but
Yeah.
but yeah, it's about having your own practice that grounds you to remind yourself, okay, well, for one, this isn't my story, so I don't need to be all the way in the mud with them. I
Mm,
can be on the edge and throw the rope in and pull the rope out with them. Like, I don't have to get in the pool and swim and believe the story. Depending on when I say believe, like depending on what it's about. Um, I don't have to be there suffering with them. Actually, it's better if I'm not suffering with them, because then we're both struggling to keep afloat. And who's going to save the two of us now, right?
yes.
So it is definitely about having your own grounding practices. It's about taking care of your nervous system. Um, a lot of breathing exercises. Um, Walking barefoot outside is one of the things that helps me a lot to keep grounded, to keep like focused. I don't know why it helps me. Being in nature, going to being around water definitely
Yeah.
helps a lot. Yeah, but anything that really helps you stay in that space where you're like, it's okay. This is not my story. Um, I am here to help. I am here to guide. I am not here to swim with them in the mud. Yeah, yeah.
That is a
Steph,
very interesting take. It truly is. I really that was one of the major issues before when you do that. Um, there's occasions where you have to jump in, but like when you are
Mm-hmm.
swimming in it and you just stay in it and you're in there with them,
Mm-hmm.
that is such a dangerous, 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 dangerous thing. And
Yes.
um and uh and like a lot of times, like so like when like you have people that go into the when they're saving somebody from drowning, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they jump into the water, and then like a lot of times firefighters or whoever or pararescue or anybody that does this kind of rescues, a lot of times they spend more time fighting the victim because they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to stay
Yeah.
up and pushing you under,
Right. Yeah.
and so when you say that, it's just like because you have to like do it so fast to get them out immediately, and stuff like that. And so when you say that resonates a lot especially with the experience I've seen a lot of people go through, what I've been through. It's just that grounding. I love the part about the water. Water is a really big one for me. Any nature, especially, just to be able to throw things away into that space. And it's a very healing thing. Something about water being around brooks and streams and lakes and rivers is a big thing. And then the grounding, I have heard of this before with the barefoot. Can you explain a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more to me about that? Because I know there's like an actual thing that this is with science, and
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah,
explain a little more.
it's kind of like symbolically reconnecting yourself to the earth. You know, the whole,
Okay.
we came from dust and to dust we shall return. It's kind of like that symbolic reconnecting yourself to the earth and showing yourself, showing your system that I'm whole, I'm solid, I'm safe. I'm not falling, I'm not
Okay.
drowning. I'm whole, I'm here, and I'm safe.
I like that.
There's also a lot of religious symbolism with walking barefoot on the earth and reconnecting with the earth. Many different religions throughout the years. The high priest or the shamans or the preachers, whatever, have always walked barefoot because of the healing power of the planet. So that's one of those that have been around for so many years, but it's just kind of one of the things that always gets left out, that always gets forgotten. So, and me personally, I can't go barefoot anywhere, but that's just kind of me. uh and Stephanie, I'm going to ask you real quick, after I introduce Trevor, I want to get that, but as a parent of both sons and daughters, what are you finding? And I'm going to give you a couple seconds to really think about this as I introduce Trevor. But as a mother for both sons and daughters, what is your thought on this? But I do want to bring in Trevor really quick. Trevor, thank you for joining us. The Web Detective, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. I do wish to extend my sincere apologies for my tardiness, and my slight incapacity to read current emails. You did send it. It's just I was on the wrong link at the wrong place, waiting for things. Gosh, it's nice and quiet here. But I was actually helping out somebody this morning, which did make me late, who has a great difficulty with remembering processes. And through the years, I've always managed to give that little bit of extra time and be patient. And I think just trying to catch up with where you are today, I think that's very important when people have some elements of their day when their mind is not focused where they should be or what they're doing, and you give a set of controls or a set of lists of things to do, can just be overwhelming. And if we all just took a little step back and issued one command or one task at a time, it really helps all of us, because you don't become to the point where you're so panic mode, should we put it in? You're like, gosh, I've got 10 things to do. Where if it's just one step at a time, you're only focusing on the one step to move you forward. So there we go. There's a little bit about my tardiness, and I don't want to occupy too much of the conversation. I do apologize.
I can imagine you sitting in that room going, man, Zach has never sounded better. I cannot hear him.
Well, there was some thoughts like, oh, gosh, Zach has given the microphone to somebody else. Isn't that interesting?
There you go. There you go. So, Trevor, tell us a little bit about the Web Detective.
Well, the Web Detective is primarily here to help you and to protect and serve your brand. I'll look at your online identity to see how well you are portrayed as an expert or an authority online, because anybody who wants to check out anybody, the first thing we all do these days is Google check somebody. And if you can't get a good feeling or good result from what you find out, you tend to overlook people. And I hate being overlooked. So that's why I'm here, and that's what I help people to do. That can include things like accessibility to websites for people with disabilities. It can help owners with compliance issues. You know, maybe there's some privacy policies issues or terms and conditions or data breaches. So the web detective actually helps to really protect people and serve.
Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Late or on time, your presence is always loved. So
I
I
appreciate
appreciate it. So, all right, Stephanie, as a parent of both sons and daughters, what do you see different between raising the two, and what do you see that that Leslie's talking about that you're finding interesting?
Yeah. So, well, first I'll say that, the walking barefoot outside and being in nature, I can connect with that so much. For us, like even being with animals and time at the farm has helped us so much. We went through some really challenging times with medical challenges and found that, this helped us a lot. The farm time really helps me breathe, if that makes any sense. Just being outside, whew, and that kind of relieves some stress, right? I do have a 10-year-old daughter myself. I like to think that she has a really good relationship with us. My husband especially makes it a point to have his time with her. He never wanted to have a girl. Now he's freaking out because he knows how he was when he was a kid. But I do think a safe space is important for your children to have in general, both boys and girls, especially with the influences that we have in the world today. I feel like it's changed a lot since I was growing up. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but as a parent, I try to stay tuned with what my kids are doing and who they're hanging around with, chatting with, things like that. They have so much more access today than, I didn't have a cell phone. Kids have cell phones today when they're little, and the internet and the world is at their fingertips, really. So, Leslie, what age did you feel that these conversations, this, not relationship, but like this safe space that you created became like really important for your girls? What age did you feel like it was a game changer to kind of have that within your home to make that space and that conversation?
I would say around the age of like 14, 15. Yeah, definitely was like, okay, yeah, this is a good thing. Like I said, there was the discomforts with some of the things you're telling me, like, okay, now I understand, why my mom wanted to like keep me so sheltered. But in trying to keep me so sheltered, I was curious about everything, so I went and did it behind your back anyways. So now I know it's like, okay, where do you want to go? Why do you want to do it? Those kind of okay, and we find the compromise, like as depending on the age. Like I said, she's 20, she's gonna be 21 now. She can go, and she's in college, so she can more or less come and go as she pleases. But before, okay, who's going? How long you're gonna be there? Just simple things like give me the time. If you're leaving from where you say you're going to go somewhere else, just message me, let me know. Simple things like that, to keep me in the loop. Because as parents, we're gonna worry naturally, no matter what age. Like I'm 40 years old and my mother still worries about me. So
Yet I actually, you know what, Leslie, the other day I had a conversation with one of somebody who we're going to be introduced. Her name is Kat, and she's in Africa, and she's a young 23-year-old girl who she wanted to come. She graduated from high school at 15, and she wanted to come here because she has ambitions to become a doctor. Well, mom and dad were freaking out about that. And I told her exactly what you just said. My son is 29 in Japan, and every time that I hear that there's a rainstorm in Japan, I fear there's going to be a washout and then he's going to end up in the middle of the ocean. So yeah, it doesn't matter how old you get, your parents are still going to worry about you. So Leslie, what are some of the things that you see not just kids. We need, women. What
Mhm.
are some of the things that you see women falling into that are really kind of hurting? We hear about the social media. What are some of the other things that women are paying attention to a little too much and not listening to themselves? What are some of the things that we can get them to hopefully start listening to themselves a little more than listening to an influencer?
Right. Influences. Yeah.
Uh-oh, I touched something.
I think, honestly, I think the thing is that social media has taken like all the ideals that society had, like from the 50s and 60s and all those times, and like amplifies it because it's constantly in your face. You're seeing that, you're seeing the influences and and everyone is posting their highlights reel. Very few people post their low points, when it's not working out, when they're not on a nice beach drinking a margarita. They make it seem like that their life is perfect 24/7, and nobody's life is perfect 24/7. And it is like, to actually have a happy life, you have to acknowledge and accept that it's not going to be daisies and roses and sunshine 24/7. And it's in the acceptance that you are going to have low days. And low days doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It doesn't mean that something is bad about you. It doesn't mean that you're ungrateful. It doesn't mean anything. It means that you're human and you're reacting to whatever you're experiencing in the moment. And once you get to that point that you can tell yourself it is okay that I feel this way, and you allow yourself to feel what you need to feel. You cry, you scream, you run, whatever you do to make yourself feel better in the moment without the running judgment. Because a
Mm.
lot of us beat ourselves up more about being human than we realize. And once you're able to like stop that running judgment and show more compassion to yourself, that's how you actually end up with a happier life. Because someone said it best, we all try to get to this one level, but if you notice on those breathing monitors, it goes up and down, up and down. So you're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. And if you're flatlining, that means you're dead. So the lows are just as necessary as the highs. And it's the same for life. The lows are just as necessary as the highs. It's just that somewhere someone thought that lows means that something is wrong with you, and the entire society decided to pick it up as fact, and it's not a fact.
Mr. Z.
Well, the fact of the matter is, it's great that you're here, Coach Leslie, and we needed to hear those things because everyone can put on a happy face. They have different faces when you're happy and what you're really going through. And I want to just circle back to what you said previously of being able to divorce yourself from certain people. And it reminded me of what Oprah Winfrey once said. Don't settle for toxic relationships because they don't allow you to be your true self. And just helping other people acknowledge that their value means something. And you don't want to be in a relation. I'm not giving you advice, but it reminded me that people shouldn't settle for a relationship where they're constantly told what to do and everything that they say is not of value. Uh, but celebrities and singers and athletes or people who make millions and millions of dollars, they're going through their demons and they probably didn't have the support while growing up. And I think just becoming that rich and successful person, they may have thought that it would have filled that void of happiness, but deep down they felt like they were a disgrace. And when you mentioned about just doing the things that you're passionate about, and even though it might sound crazy to pursue your passions, it's going to work in your favor in the long run. And there are many people here who want to help others, but they just don't know how to find help for themselves. And there are people like yourself, Coach Leslie, Web Detective Trevor, Steph, Patrick, and of course yourself, Zach, that are able to help others get what they need out of life and in turn get what you need in life. So my question for you is, I know I've seen the work that you do and everything that you're talking about is congruent to being a person that's of change, not trying to change others. Um, are you open to working with individuals who uh, are outside of the United States or those who are in different continents besides Antarctica? But if you can work there, kudos to you.
Did he freeze?
I mean,
Very clever.
absolutely. Absolutely. As long as you have a connection to the internet, we're good to go. We can work together.
Brilliant. That's great. And it's all about connecting and being able to be in a place where we can make a positive change with just one Zoom or camera away really does make a difference.
Yeah.
So I think what you're doing, and I think it's safe to say on behalf of everybody here that you are someone that we can go to when we ever need to reconnect with the younger generation. And I think a lot of people here have mentioned about social media. People have the need to be liked and get the comments. And it's sad to say that some people will go out of their way to pay for likes just to get that approval and validation. And I think the best sort of validation is knowing that you're making a difference like everybody else here, Coach Leslie. And it's always a delight to have someone like yourself, Web Detective Trevor, Steph, Patrick, and of course, Zach, to make that difference that we're just looking to find in this sad, sad world, but you're making it happier. And whoever said you're a disgrace, well, they're a disgrace for telling you that. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you.
No offense, Mom and Dad.
Hey, Trevor, I know that you're a little late to this, but I do know that you were watching a little bit before. Did you have any questions for Leslie or any comments?
Well, it's a little bit difficult in one sense when you have no kids around. You just reaffirm that I don't want any.
Well, she's actually a female coach. Yeah, well,
you know, I'm not asking how to get them, so that's a good question.
I think that's enough.
But yeah, when it comes down to people reaching out for help, you know, it's nice that there's a resource, and whether we put them under the classification of a doctor's psychologist help or reaching out for a friend or a parent, it doesn't matter what capacity of the hat that you wear. The capacity is allowing time and to listen to what that messaging is. And sometimes those messages do not come through as a direct question. Hey, X person, Y person, I feel like this today. Sometimes it takes somebody just to reach out and say, oh, I haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on? Just you know, let's give 5 minutes just to catch up. And having a familiar face or familiar voice at the end of a Zoom or a telephone or even a text message is a good way to start a conversation. But I think you should always try to invite that person to have a face-to-face, because text doesn't really work. It's a great way to get somebody to get your attention. And the capacity to talk is what we really want, because talking sometimes just resolves so many issues before the issue actually takes over the whole scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, Trevor, just kind of off what you were saying, I think text is also one of those things. It's so dangerous because you never know the context of you know what you're saying. So
yeah, and that can easily happen between, you know, I'm sure by stereotyping people from one state to another, a colloquialism that you use in one state, you know, even between understanding European time and American time can get people confused. So yeah, how often do we write an idea down in a text mode and it's only half of what we're thinking? The other person reads in between the lines as such, which is a human thing to do. and goes off and, well, how dare you think that or assume this of me? And you may actually be halfway through trying to explain your thought process, of which the damage is already done. It's like dropping that proverbial bottle of milk or the tray of eggs. Once the crack is there and they're split and it's all over the floor, you can't go back and wipe it back up. You just have to go through a different process.
Patrick, did you have anything else? Did you have anything that you wanted to, any other questions for Leslie?
I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to say, honestly, just thank you for allowing that to be what's on your heart, that you're doing this, and honestly, I can't wait to connect in the possibilities of what these girls can learn from you. Yeah, I'm gonna take advantage of your knowledge. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yes,
If
please do.
if you say
Yes.
that I can, you should have told me that because I will. And because I think that man, it'd be powerful for them to be able to hear a lot of things that that you said just now. Because I was just like, oh man, I could never say that to them because I am a man, and there are certain things that as a man that I shouldn't say. I shouldn't be a part of that conversation. And they need that woman to be a part of the conversation. And so yeah, I just thank you for that. Thank you for not taking your life in that time. Um, and fighting through it, you know what I mean? Not all of us make it through that, but you made that decision and you made through it, and like it's so amazing to see like how you go through those dark times, and then it gets all the way turned around into this great purpose, and that's the beauty, of that struggle. When you said you have to go through those highs and lows, I really, really just, man, that hit me. That resonated a lot with me because you have to have that in order to become who you are. You have to. That's the truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Leslie, I have one more question for you, and unfortunately, we're running up against the top of the hour. My question is, what should we do if we know a woman, a girl, who is having a tough day? What's the best way for someone to approach? Is there any difference between approaching a guy or a girl? I mean, of course, I'm not going to walk up to a guy and go, wow, you look like crap today. Or go up to a girl, tell her that. I will do that for a guy. That's kind of who I am. That's the way we talk. I'm not going to walk up to a girl and go, wow, you look like crap today. What's wrong? So
Please don't.
Yeah.
now we know why Zach's been divorced twice. Okay, so, but what is the main thing that somebody should know when you walk up to a female and you see that they're troubled?
I think it's just about being as delicate as you can with the questioning. Like you can ask them, is everything okay? Is there something you want to talk about? Or sometimes people even open up after you ask them, like, how are you doing today? So but it's like you said, you don't go and be like, oh well, something's off about you today, yeah. It's just be genuinely curious, and without the judgment, like, yeah.
Well,
Or even offer, like, is there something I can do for you today? Like, yeah.
Well, Leslie, I want to thank you again. You always answer the call, and I think that one of the things that you always do is you bring a little bit of clarity to any time that you get to talk with us, and I do appreciate it because, like I said, it's a different world in between a guy and a girl when it comes to this stuff, because it's easier for some of us to deal with the issues when a guy's struggling, and so I appreciate when you come out and you kind of give us a reason why for us. And then I love the confidence that you give women and the ability to let them know, hey, it's okay. You don't have to listen to what everybody else says. Look, that Barbie doll, it's a doll. It's not, that's not what you have to look like. You don't have to be Mary Maid homemaker. I think it's very important that your message gets across. And I want to thank you very much for being a part of Footprints Forward. And thank you for coming on to here and helping us with our mission.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Well, as always. And anytime you want to join us, please do. So we are at the top of the hour, but let's go on ahead and go around. Stephanie, what was the one thing that you learned today?
Coach Leslie, thank you so much for being here and sharing everything today. I think the one thing that kind of my takeaway, don't compare yourself to the highlight reel. And what Leslie said was stop the judgment of yourself and you will live a happier life. So I'm going to go with that.
That's awesome. Z?
Well said, Steph, and thank you, Coach Leslie, for being here. And thank goodness you didn't take your own life, because we wouldn't have the pleasure of you being here. The lesson that I learned today is when you sense someone isn't them usual selves, ask them, how are you doing? Don't just say, hey, how's it going? See what's really going on. So thank you for that reminder, Coach Leslie.
Patrick?
For me is always be conscious of the environment that you're creating, and finding ways to, especially these young women, young ladies, to do that, to create that environment for them to feel comfortable to be able to open up and talk and deal with the things and issues that are plaguing them inside. And also teaching the people around you to do the same, especially if you're working. So that was the takeaway for me.
All right. Trevor?
Well, I think the main thing that came from Coach Leslie today, and appreciate her being here and sharing all this wisdom with us, is don't be like Zach and say you look like crap today. I think that was a great come away, because I think, as Zach says, us guys will say that quite easily, and I don't know if I've been in the realm saying, "Oh, what's up? You don't seem quite so chipper today," but then again, that's identifying there may be an issue, so maybe I might want to change that opening statement, but then I'm always there to trying to make somebody laugh or feel that there is some happiness around. So I guess I'm the bit of the joker, so maybe that line can sit there if it's delivered in the right way. But I appreciate you for making me think a little bit differently, or maybe that sometimes that approach might not work.
Well, Trevor, unfortunately, I think you took away mine. You're not allowed to say, wow, you look like crap today. I need to go and apologize to my wife. So, no, look, the one thing that I always take away when it comes to Leslie is you don't have to be what other people expect you to be. Be yourself. And I think that that's the one thing that is the truest message that Leslie, you bring to everyone. And again, I want to thank you so very much. So, hey, everybody, we thank you again for joining us this week for Footprints Forward. We do want to remind you that, if you have a story to tell, if you have a mission, if you have some way to help someone else who is in trouble, the little QR code up in the corner, that's how you get a hold of us. You can be a guest. You can join us. Tell these stories. As you heard, these stories are very impactful. Okay. We're making friendships, long-lasting friendships, but better yet, we're giving you alternatives. And that is what our goal is. We want you to know that no matter who you are, no matter how you heal, there's somebody out there who can help. And so please, we just ask, you take care of yourself, and remember, no matter how softly you walk, you always leave footprints. For all of our family here, we wish you a good week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.